If you ever find yourself out in Tokyo, you should venture out to Nikko. It is a national park that is a few-hour ride north of the city. It is a major tourist attraction, so there will be a lot of people there. But for me, at least, that did not take away from the experience. Seeing all of the wilderness Japan has to offer was great, as it engulfed many historical sites such as these big, beautiful Buddhist temples that are quietly nestled into the woods. I took a subway to Asakusa to purchase my ticket to Nikko and into the park area at the information center. Once getting there, I would only have about 2 hours to explore, so the people working there recommended I come back another day so I can have more time. The 2 hours I spent there were great, but I can now say I easily agree with them. Nikko can even be a multi-day thing to do since there is so much to see and so much ground to cover. The train ride traveled through the Japanese countryside, which was just what I needed. After about a week of all the lights and commotion of Tokyo, getting some fresh air and seeing another side of Japan was excellent. I also got to cruise through the more residential, suburban housing areas outside of the city, which was what I got on camera. If you pause this video during this shot, every so often, you can get a clear perspective of what these residential areas look like. The houses were a good size, but they were built in a way where they did not seem big. Maybe this is because they were built so close to each other and the streets were narrow. Many of the streets were big enough for just one car to pass through and felt more like a walking street than a street for cars. This was a theme I noticed throughout the country. Even though cars seemed to get around just fine, the country did not appear to be constructed with a car-centric design like I am used to in the US. One thing I did not capture on camera, which I really wish I did, is the rural parts of the country. I really recommend looking into it after you watch this video. It was so peaceful and uniquely Japan, and it brought a broader look into Japanese culture. I recorded this clip with the intention of making a standalone video to show what a train ride through Tokyo looks like. At this point, I do not think I'm going to do that, but at the same time, I do want to show the clip since it's a neat running shot, so I am just going to let it play out for another few minutes. I could add some extra commentary, but I think some music will hit the spot much better. You'll get your fill of commentary later in the video. The train ride empties you out into what I consider to be the Japanese equivalent of a small mountain town in the US. From here, you take a quick bus ride up to the park entry. Or if you are interested, you can enjoy a walk up through the town and see all the restaurants and small shops. I initially took the bus up when I got there, but I took the walk back once the park closed. Being that the ride was so quick, I thought it would be about 10 minutes. To my surprise, it was about 30 minutes. To be exact, I was dropped off by this statue. The first entry point is the famous Shinjuku Bridge. The bridge was still nothing short of great, but not what I expected. I thought it was going to be much more settled in the middle of the park, but it was next to a road and essentially marked the beginning of the park and end of the town's commercial district. Directly across the bridge, to the right from the previous shot, you will be welcomed into the park by an engraved stone marker and a steep flight of stone steps. Once I got up to the top, I had to walk down this long, moss-covered stone pathway to reach the area with the temples and other attractions. On the sides of the path were more upscale restaurants and houses. As you can see here, the houses were likely very expensive. It is hard to get the full context through video, but the houses, for example this one here, they were, and I choose this word for a reason, they were enchanting. A little further up the road, I was greeted by a sign to walk up this hill. It looked like some good action was going on up there, so I decided to take a look. I came across this big, traditionally styled Japanese building to find what seemed to be a youth league for some kind of sport. I later came to find out it is called Kendo, which is a martial art where the players dress up in outfits similar to those the samurais would wear, and they would fight each other with these long bamboo sticks. I'll now be quiet for a moment and let you take in what I saw. Continuing on, I got more into the meat of the park, where the temples become more of a central part. You have to pay a few dollars in order to enter many of the temples. I went into, I think, 3 of the 4 I came across, and was not exactly sure why I had to pay. They were worth going into, but fairly small. Being that I had to pay, I expected them to offer more. I did not enter this first one because I was so excited to be there. I had a lot of energy, so I instead chose to go for a run and wound up chugging my way through this stretch of the park. Upon reaching the next section, I was getting out of breath, so I walked around before paying to go into the next temple. Obviously, it was a beautiful sight to behold and gave me a calming sense of peace. There was a trail loop that went through the woods that had little Buddhist trinkets, statues, like this Buddha one here, and other religious items. As I proceeded further, I discovered more temples and different types of landscapes, such as this waterfall. A moment ago, you may have seen a couple hugging. I saw a lot of this throughout my time here. The area was very romantic and emotionally warming, so it was good to see couples happy, enjoying an experience they will likely remember forever. If you are a fan of doing the Stairmaster while you are at the gym, this image of what I came across next may give you more of a heightened feeling of love than any couple I saw. If not, you may be encouraged to head back to your nicely air-conditioned car. Being that my battery was running out, as was the hours the park was open, this next temple was the last location I had the wonderful opportunity to see. Even though the temples all had a similar look with incredible craftsmanship, they all had their own unique charm. It wasn't like a once you've seen one, you've seen them all. In fact, I kept having this recurring thought pop into my head, where I would imagine what some sort of person I would have been and lifestyle I would have had if I had lived in each of these hypnotizing temples. I was in Seoul, South Korea a handful of years ago and explored the Bukhansan National Park. These parks were somewhat similar, but Nikko was much more condensed, with things to see outside of nature. Bukhansan was more nature with some historical sites spliced throughout the park, while Nikko felt more like an old Buddhist town that is stuck in time, cut in the wilderness. Overall, if you cannot tell already, I had a great day up in Nikko. I really wish I was able to capture more of it on video so I can share it with everyone. If I ever find my way up in Tokyo again, I will be sure to visit for a second time. I barely even made a dent in the section I was in, and there is also another area where I can see attractions like the Kigan Falls and Tobu World Square. In the comments, be sure to let me know if you have been there and what you think. This area definitely makes for good conversation. And if you have never been there, I want to hear you say that you are planning a trip there right now. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. This is the Agency of Influence.